Welcome to Brilliant Forensic Investigation e-learning platform. Our course entitled Crime Scene Investigation and Management. The major objective of studying crime scene investigation is to develop an understanding and appreciation of the scope of crime scene investigation, to develop an understanding on collection and handling of different physical evidences found at the crime scene, and further to develop comprehensive knowledge on various investigative techniques used in processing the crime scene. So let's start with our first module of crime scene investigation. In this module, you will learn about what actual the crime is, what is the basic definition of crime scene, how many types of crime scene are, what are the different responsibilities of first responder officer at the crime scene, how to process the whole crime scene, in which you will learn about the protection and isolation of the crime scene, how to record the crime scene, how to sketch the crime scene, in which you will learn about the rough and final sketch, what are the different searching methods of physical evidences, how to collect and package the physical evidences, labeling of physical evidences, maintenance of chain of custody, forwarding letter, and about the transport certificate. What is crime? As there is no defined discussion of crime and criminals without the investigation of the meaning of the words, crime in strict sense, an act which is forbidden by the law and authority, and which is regarded as serious enough to warrant punished, issuing penalties for its execution. The word crime is of origin with criminal, which means charge or offense. Crime is a social fact. According to Waverley Encyclopedia, crime is an act forbidden by law and for performing which the perpetrator is liable to punishment. If we talk about in our Indian context, crime is an activity that involves breaking the law and enforcement. So basically, what actual the crime is? Crime is an act which is committed or omitted in violation of law, forbidding or commanding. Talking about the crime scene further, from the second of crime is committed, traces of crime left in the environment. The location where the crime took place is full of physical evidences which can link the crime to the criminals and also admissible to police investigation. This location refers to crime scene. So, crime scene is a place where a crime took place, or you can say it is another location where evidence of the crime may be found. This area comprises with the most of the physical evidences further retrieved by law enforcement agencies. This is the reference image of crime scene. What all can you see here? The very first thing is the barricading tape. Secondly, there are certain items or exhibits which are marked numerically. Third, there is a white outlining of the deceased which indicates that the body was in lying position. So by conducting a systematic examination of this crime scene area, the investigators uncover the physical evidence to help identify what actually was happened, who was involved. This process must be conducted carefully and thoroughly to ensure that crucial evidence is collected and fragile evidence is not destroyed in the process. Types of crime scene. Crime scene can be anywhere: indoor, outdoor, domestic dwelling, business room, conveyance, but there is one thing which is to be highlighted, that no two crime scenes are ever the same. We classify the crime scene on the basis of its occurrence and its location. On the basis of crime scene occurrence, there are two different types of crime scenes, that is primary crime scene and secondary crime scene. On the basis of crime scene location, there are three different types of crime scenes: indoor crime scene, outdoor crime scene, Conveyance crime scene. Primary crime scene. A primary crime scene is the area, immediate vicinity of the occurrence within which the evidence may be found. That means this is a area where actually crime occurred. For example, the robbers gunpoint the bank officer and the other people present at the bank and rob the bank. So what is the primary crime scene here? The primary crime scene is bank itself. Moving on to secondary crime scene, which is an alternate location of crime within which additional evidence may be found that link the offender with the offense. The secondary crime scene is not the actual place where crime took place. For example, after robbing the bank, the robbers used car parked at the gateway of bank and run away. So, what is the secondary crime scene here? The car itself. As you can see in this picture, the primary crime scene is the bank. The thief gunpoint the bank officer and rob the bank. He uses cycle to run away, that is the car. So primary crime scene is the bank and secondary crime scene is the vehicle used by the thief. Location of crime scene, which is categorized into three different ways. First is indoor crime scene, second is outdoor crime scene, and third is conveyance crime scene. Talking about the indoor crime scene, which is an area where crime has been committed in the interior of a building, hall, or a car, where roof or ceiling is present along with the walls. In this type of crime scene, there is less chances of contamination, less susceptible to loss or degradation due to environmental factors. Indoor crime scenes are usually easier to secure and protect. Such crime scenes are easier for searching physical evidences and it requires limited number of personnel for investigation. The physical evidences are searched properly by applying a searching method of quadrant or grid method at the crime scene. This is the reference image of indoor crime scene where a crime had took place along the presence of ceiling or roof along with the walls. Coming on to outdoor crime scene. The outdoor crime scene is the most vulnerable to loss, contamination and deleterious change of physical evidence in relatively shorter period of time because such type of crime scenes committed in an open or over a wider area like playground, forest, etc. The greatest risk is when crime scene investigators fail to protect or secure the outdoor crime scene properly. There may be destruction or deterioration of evidences due to environmental conditions such as heat, cold, rain, snow and wind. Such environmental conditions are problematic in securing the outdoor crime scene. Evidences cannot be protected under these conditions and should be collected expeditiously without compromising its integrity. Here, expeditiously means immediate collection of the evidences. There are chances when not only daylight outdoor crime scenes are present, there may be nightmare outdoor crime scenes, which are more problematic as compared to daylight outdoor crime scenes. Regardless of the quality of the light source which is used to illuminate the scene, the lack of sunlight leads the investigators inadvertently missing or destroying evidences. So, whenever there is possibility, outdoor crime scenes should be held and secured until daylight for processing. This is the reference image of outdoor crime scenes. Conveyance crime scenes. The basic meaning of conveyance is the action or process of transporting or carrying someone or something from one place to another. If we talk about crime, the crime which committed in convents are not limited only to burglary, grand theft, carjacking, sexual assault, homicide. Each type of crime scene, along with the nature of the crime committed, have different procedures. It is important that the crime scene investigator recognize that physical evidence recovered from such scenes may be extend well beyond the conveyance itself. An example of this would be footprint or shoe impression of someone fleeing a scene, and the track of could leave evidence that the suspect pick up at the scene, such as soil, rock, sand, etc. This is the reference image of conveyance crime scene. Now the question arises, what does crime scene investigation team comprises of? The team includes medical examiner, who is also known as coroner, second, investigating officers, third, police personnel, fourth one, photographer and videographer to document and record the whole scene, fifth, which are the crucial part of the investigation team, are the forensic specialist, bomb detection squad if there is a case of explosion, and the sketch artist. What all equipment should be carried in order to assess the crime scene? The barricading tape, first aid kits, personal protective equipment which include gloves, hair covering, mask and lab coat, notebook, measuring devices such as tape, scale, etc., camera along with remote flash, tripod, remote cord, memory card and backup battery, evidence seals or tapes, forensic investigation kits such as blood collection kit, fingerprint kit, trace evidence collection kit, sexual assault evidence kit, and so on. These are the reference images of crime scene equipment. Here the main part begins. The responsibility which is carried by first responder at the crime scene. In order to memorize the responsibilities of first responder is learning the acronym ADAPT, in which A stands for assess the crime scene, D stands for detain the witness, again A stands for arrest the perpetrator if he or she still present at the crime scene, P that stands for protect the crime scene, and T to take the notes. Arrival at the scene, or can say initial response principles. What is the basic principle behind the initial response or receipt of information? The most important aspect of securing crime scene is to preserve the scene with minimal contamination and disturbance of physical evidence. The safety and well-being of the officers and other individuals in and around the crime scene are the initial responding officer's first priority. Third, the initial responding officer ensures the medical attention to injured person if present at the crime scene. The initial responding officer shall identify unknown personnel at the crime scene and to control their movement. The initial responding officer at the scene shall conduct an initial assessment of the extent of the crime scene. He must approach the scene cautiously, scan the entire area thoroughly, and note any possible secondary crime scenes. Further establish and control the boundary of the crime scene. The initial responding officer shall provide a detailed crime scene briefing to his or her in charge of the scene. The initial responding officer should maintain a proper document record. Beginning with our primary step of processing the crime scene is the protection of crime scene. Establish the boundaries of crime scene, starting at the focal point and extending outward. Examine where the crime occurred. What are the potential points and paths of exit and entry of suspect or the witness? The basic principles behind protecting and securing the crime scene is to establish beyond the initial scope of crime scene with the understanding that the boundaries can be reduced in size if necessary but cannot be as easily expanded. Sealing of crime scene by physical barriers, which include ropes, crime scene barrier tape and cones, to prioritize the protection of crucial evidences from the destruction of physical evidences. This is the reference image of crime scene. Next step is note-taking. The note-taking process begins with a call to a crime scene investigator to report to a scene. What all the things should be included while taking notes? The very first thing, the name of the person who contacted the investigator. Time of contact should be noted. Preliminary information regarding the case along with its number should be noted. Date and time of arrival of investigator. Whosoever are present at the crime scene, their name should be included. Additional personnel who are contacted and their time of arrival should be noted. Whatever the task assigned to the members of CSI team is to be included while making notes. During the walkthrough, the investigator should take notes on every aspect of the crime scene in its original condition. The scene walkthrough provides an overview of the entire scene, identifies any threat to scene integrity, ensures protection of physical evidences. Location of evidence and description of each item should be noted in making notes. Whether victim is present in homicide case, the investigator record the state of the body before the medical examiner moves it. Tape recording notes are advantageous as compared to written notes. This is the reference image of crime scene note taking. Coming on crime scene photography. Crime scene photography is vitally important to the overall documentation of a crime scene. The photographs must be material, relevant, accurate, and without prejudicial bias. These are typical standards crime scene photographs must meet in order to be accepted as evidence in court of law. Crime scene photography helps the investigator to make a permanent record of the whole crime scene. The objects should not be moved until they get photographed, and for photography, most preferred equipment is DSLR. Importance of photography. When asked a very simple question, what is the purpose of forensic photography? The students generally respond with a puzzled expression, maybe a shrug, maybe the question is too simple or nay. Often, many reply to document the scene. The true response is not quite that simple. Forensic photography or crime scene photography has much more far-reaching implications. The most obvious and straightforward reasons are to record and preserve the as-found condition of the scene, to show the relative position of evidence at the scene, establish the relative dimension of the evidence, cross-complement other archiving techniques, preserve the as-found scene for future reference. Another important aspect for documenting biological evidence in its original condition, as it may be altered during the testing. The photographs captured before the object are moved or removed as to maintain its intended value in the court of law. The basic equipment needed for photography are camera with 35 mm film, digital single lens reflex of 12 megapixel film, rolls of color film and black and white film, battery backup, memory card, detachable flash, flashlight, tripod, pen, notebook and a ruler. Types of forensic photography. Forensic investigation requires complete coverage. Unlike artistic photography, where the landscape, the portrait, or the action scene is the object of interest, the forensic photographer must comprehensively cover the entire crime scene. This means wearing several photographic hats, ranging from that of landscape photographer to that of close-up photographer. The forensic archiver must be an expert in not only recognizing evidence at the crime scene but also capturing in three principal photographic types, which include overview or overall photography, mid-range photography, and the close-up photography. We are going to talk briefly about these three. Overview photography. Overview photographs of the crime scene and surrounding area include points of exit and entry from multiple locations and angles. These photographs are the overview of the scene, and basically this is the first stage of the archiving process. These are designed to depict the general orientation of the scene. This job begins when the crime scene team initiate its investigation, typically before evidence collection. It also encompasses sub-scenes that exist within the larger scene. Additional photographs with placards used for evidence identifiers must be wholly visible. While photographing the scene, every detailed information should be noted in the form of notes. As this picture depicts the reference image of overview photography. Mid-range photography. After establishing photographs, the next step is to get closer to the evidence photographically so that the relative position of the evidence in a specific area of the scene is clearer. It is very important to take mid-range photos to establish the relationship of object or the reference points in the scene. The photographs of transient evidence from a position shows the spatter relative to other objects in the area, and it also shows the perpendicular to the spatter. For example, establishing shot may show a knife lying some distance from the outstretched right arm of the deceased. It is critical to pinpoint the knife position perfectly. That requires more than a single photograph, encompassing multiple perspectives. You can take the picture from the feet of the deceased, from the outstretched right arm, looking from the knife to the outstretched arm, from the left and right side of the deceased, from the head of the deceased, from all the doorways, and so on. So what happens? In this way, the knife position relative to the doorway, to the deceased, and to other rooms will be preserved. That means it needs to be archived. Close-up photography. Evidence details that have criminalistic or investigative value must be preserved photographically. The very important category of evidence that should be included is the pattern or impression evidence. For example, fingerprint, footwear impression, tire tracks, tool marks, and so on. How would you take the close-up photograph of the evidence? Place the ruler and the camera perpendicular to each other, relative to the impression. When the photograph needs to be accurately scaled, the ruler must be on same plane as the impression. The camera lens must be perpendicular to the subject, and you should use a level tripod to position the camera accurately. These are the general images of crime scene photography. Crime scene video recording. Why is it valuable, or why is it important? The very basic answer to this question is video recording is valuable for showing an overview of the whole crime scene, and it is considered in major cases. Video cannot replace still photographs due to its lower resolution, but it provides an easily understandable viewing medium that shows the layout of the crime scene as well as the location of the evidence. Therefore, these are more advantageous as compared to still photographs. The video camera allows the user to play back a recording of a scene and check it for completeness. Such video recordings are also presented in the court. They also provide a valuable illustration for explaining the scene to other investigators and often used to refresh the memory of those who were involved in processing the crime scene. Video essentially combines note and photography. When videotaping crime scenes, the investigator starts the videotape with a brief introduction presented by an investigator. What all the introduction should be included? The introduction should include date, time, location, type of crime scene, and any other important introductory information. The introduction should also include a brief discussion of the room and evidence that will be viewed in the videotape. The investigator may want to display a basic diagram as an illustration during the introduction. There are some cameras that have a night vision feature which is very similar to the infrared photography. General consideration at the time of video recording. Take video of the scene in its original form from multiple angles and distances. Always take video of the scene before or after the alteration, such as when placards and scales are placed near the evidence. The investigator must take overall video to show where the crime occurred, mid-range video to show the relationship of evidence and other points of interest, and close-up video to show individual items. The videography session should occur in an uninterrupted and focused manner. While taking video of a scene, the investigators record related information in the notes. Sketching of crime scenes. Crime scene sketches are another basic foundation of crime scene investigation. Crime scene sketches are still considered a valuable tool of scene documentation and case investigation. But before beginning a sketch, the investigator should have a comprehensive view of the scene and decide the limitations of the sketch, what to include, what not to include. Sketch, diagram, drawing, these terms used interchangeably. Sketches refer to a handmade pictorial representation of a crime scene. It is required to show spatial relationship or proportional measurement to relate evidence to other objects. The use of proportional measurement to calculate such things like bullet trajectory angles, or to reconstruct accident details. A suitable scale should be used and indicated on the sketch for outdoor or indoor crime scene. Why is a sketch important to crime scene documentation? There are several reasons behind the commonly use of a sketch that include portray the physical fact, relates to the sequence of events at the scene, it establishes the precise location and relationship of object and evidence at the scene. It also helps to create a mental picture of the scene for those who were not present. It is a permanent record of the scene and admissible in the court. It assists in interviewing and interrogating. It also assists in preparing the written investigative report. It assists in presenting the case in court. Well-prepared sketches and drawings help judges or juries or the witnesses and others to visualize the crime scene. The equipment needed for sketching: graph paper, plain paper, 50 to 100 foot retouchable measuring tape for proportional measurement, ruler, oversized clipboard, pencil and eraser, magnetic compass, and PPE, that is personal protective equipment. So, what is rough sketch? Rough sketch is the first sketch drawn at the scene. It could be multiple rough sketches depending upon the crime. The sketch includes the outline with the location of object where the evidence were clearly marked. It should be drawn before anything could be moved or destroyed or removed for further investigation. Depending on the crime, draw one or all type of sketches, like a sketch that shows the whole surrounding, a sketch that shows only the measurement of certain areas or certain evidences, a sketch showing location of victim or the evidence. This is the general reference of rough sketch. Last is the final sketch. It is the finished rendition of the rough sketch. Final sketch is made with the reference of the rough sketch. They are usually prepared for courtroom presentation and only significant items and structures are present. A final sketch is produced either on ink or on a computerized manner that is not able to modify. Legend. A legend is a note of explanation outside of the sketch area which relates to a specific item, symbol, or information contained within the graphical representation of a sketch. So basically, this is the final sketch reference with the accurate measurements, with the accurate proportional distances of evidence with the other object. Such legends are used in sketching. It is impossible to draw the pictorial representation of the whole item as it. Therefore, certain legends or remarks are used in sketching. Methods of sketching, which are as follows: coordination or baseline method, second, triangulation method, third, cross projection method, fourth, polar coordinate method, and the last one is rectangulation method. Coordinate or baseline method. This is the most basic or least accurate form of crime scene mapping. For this method, a baseline is developed or identified from which to conduct measurements. This can be an existing area such as edge of a roadway, a wall, fence, etc. Or it can be developed by personnel such as placing a string or tape measure through the scene and conducting measurements from there. This method involves the principle of measuring the distance of an object from two fixed points. A baseline can be utilized by selecting a wall or by drawing a center line which should be mathematical center of the room if the exact dimensions are known. Once the baseline is established, measurements are taken from the baseline at an approximate 90-degree angle from the baseline to a point on the identified item or the area of the crime scene. Most measurements are made either to center mass of the item or to the nearest point of the item to the baseline. A coordinate which should be perpendicular to the baseline needs to be drawn towards the evidence, and accordingly the distance from the baseline to the respective evidence has been notified. For this reason, this method is not as accurate as some of the other methods. However, it is quick and extremely easy to use. This is the general reference of coordinate or baseline sketch method. As you can see, two fixed points are taken to measure the distance with relative to the evidence. Second one is the triangulation method or triangulation mapping. This is the most accurate method that does not make use of advanced technology. While it is quite a bit more laborious and time consuming, but it gives more accurate than the aforementioned method of mapping. This method can be utilized for both indoor and outdoor crime scenes. Fixed points need to be taken, and from the end a chordate will be drawn towards the evidence, forming a triangle. With the use of Pythagoras theorem, the perpendicular can be calculated. For the indoor crime scene, the vertex of the wall, which means two opposite ends of the wall, will be taken as fixed point, whereas in case of outdoor crime scene, any 2 points which are fixed, like tree or electric pole, need to be taken for measurement. This is the general reference of triangulation method. If the object is of a fixed or constant shape, for example a firearm or item of furniture or body, then the object is measured to 2 points from the two fixed points, as you can see in the picture, for a total of 4 measurements. Whether the object is of variable shape or size, then the object is measured to an approximate center of the mass. Third one is cross projection method. In this method, physical evidence on roof, wall, windows, etc., distance and height, both are required to be measured. All the evidences found on such places are taken from each corner of the wall, floor and roof. All the measurements with respect to the evidence found on wall, window, door or roofs are taken and can be easily shown in the sketching. This is known as extended coordinate method. This is the general reference of the cross projection searching method. Polar coordinate method. This method is another crime scene searching method used to document evidence location at a crime scene. As we talked previously mentioned searching methods, this is also a two-dimensional system that indicates the location of an object by providing the angle and distance from the fixed or known point. This is most suitable searching method in outdoor crime scenes when a large area is there. In this method, a focal point means a fixed point is selected first, which could be any, a tree, an electric pole, etc. The distances and directions of the physical evidences are noted with respect to the focal point. You can measure the distance by using measuring tape, and you can measure the direction. You can calculate the direction by compass. If tree or electric pole is selected as a focal point, there is certain height utilization is required. Whenever you taking pond as a focal point, compass is needed. As you can see in the image, the direction is given with the help of compass. The height is measured by taking a focal point and measuring an accurate angle. Rectangulation method, last but not the least, which is very useful for indoor sketches. The rectangular coordinate mapping method is slightly more accurate as it is the variation of baseline method, because it utilizes two such baselines instead of one, which means two measurements are taken to a point on an item or location at the scene. One point from which each identified baseline. Some personnel choose to measure two or more points on an item, means using multiple rectangular measurements to increase accuracy, while others simply choose to measure an arbitrarily identified center mass of the object. The two walls, talking in very simple way, the two walls are at right angle to each other, secured as measuring point. The chordate from each wall will be drawn towards the evidence, which forms a rectangle. In this image, see, it cannot be determined that such measurements are taken precisely at 90-degree angle from the baseline, so there exists a greater possibility of error than with some of the other methods. Due to this method, having two-dimensional or two measurement has greater accuracy than with the single line based method. This method is especially useful in smaller interior scenes. After sketching the crime scene, there is need to conduct a systematic search for evidence. The search for physical evidence at a crime scene must be thorough and systematic. A thorough search for physical evidence must be conducted only one time. If there is any kind of failure, even though it may seem unnecessary, can lead to accusations of negligence. The investigators as well as the crime scene specialists must note the following things: location of obvious traces of evidences, probable entry and exit points of perpetrator, size, shape and the conditions on the area to be searched upon. The prime work of the investigative officer and the forensic expert is generally based on Locard's principle of exchange. No matter how much someone tries to clean up a crime scene, something is generally left behind. It may not always be detected or even be visible to human eye, but it's almost impossible to take any kind of action without shedding something. This principle, known as Locard's principle of exchange, which has become one of the motivating factors in the development of forensic science around the world. Before commencing a search for physical evidence, the investigator must be clear in his mind on how to look for, where to look for, and what to look for. There are 5 different types of search techniques conducted in specified and organized manner. Such techniques are strip search method, grid search method, spiral search method, zone or quadrant search method, wheel search method. This Take this picture as a reference point. The investigator start his search through one point of the corner and move towards the other, looking for the evidence. This type of walkthrough is steady and slow. Next is grid search method. It is just like the strip method. The only difference is that 2 strips are considered to form a grid. Several searches or a line of them move alongside each other from one end of the area to be searched to the other. This method is useful for large crime scenes as the searches are doubled back perpendicularly across the area they just searched. It increases the possibility of uncovering evidence not previously noticed. Then they search again, moving across the field at a 45-degree angle to where they first started until the entire area has been covered. As you can see in this picture, the 2 line strips are considered to form a grid. The 2 investigators can do the searching walking through on separate strips and then will switch their strips for the more accuracy. This method is good for large indoors and outdoors crime scenes. Coming on spiral search method. The spiral search pattern usually employs one person. The investigator moves either in an inward spiral from the boundary to the center of the scene or in an outward spiral from the center to the boundary. This ever-widening circle technique is conducted at the focal point of the crime scene, walking outward by moving clockwise or counterclockwise direction to the outside edges of the crime scene. As you can see in this picture, the investigator or the searcher will start from the center of the area, moving towards the periphery, means inward. Next is zone or quadrant method. In this method, the crime scene is virtually divided into different zones. The number of zones depend upon the size and complexity of the scene. This method can be applicable to the outdoor as well as to the indoor. In this method, different people will be employed in individual zones and will search their zones thoroughly for the evidence. After searching in their own zones, the zones will be exchanged to check the accuracy and double check for any missing items. For example, if there is a living room, it can be divided into 4 equal sections and examined by an individual investigator. Such squares are further divided into additional, smaller squares to facilitate evidence location. This type of method cannot be applicable on very squeezed and complex crime scenes like lift shaft, elevator or stairs. Last method, but not the least, that is wheel, or you can say ray search pattern. This pattern or this method employs the use of several crime scene personnel. Starting in the middle of an imaginary circle, each investigator moves in a direction straight out from the center or hub of the wheel, much like the spokes of bicycle wheels. However, it is possible to destroy unseen evidence in the hub area if extreme care is not taken to watch upon, where investigators are stepping as they gather in the center of the search area. This method is only applicable to the larger outdoor scenes like field, desert or any other open area. The investigator begins from the epicenter. This is the epicenter, moving towards their zone. As you can see, 6 zones are divided from A to F to complete the search, and then returning back to the epicenter for the discussion or collection procedure. Physical evidence. Physical evidences are any objects that can establish that a crime has been committed or can establish a link between suspect and the victim of the crime with each other and with the scene of crime. As you all know, crime scenes are unique in nature, so almost anything can be treated as physical evidence. Depending upon the type of crime and the circumstances under which the crime was committed. Now, moving on, the very important aspect of crime scene investigation is the collection and preservation of physical evidences. In collecting evidence from a crime scene, the crime scene investigator has several main goals in mind. The very first major goal is to reconstruct the crime, to identify the person who did it, to preserve the evidence for analysis, and to collect in such a manner that will make it stand up in the court. There are several collection methods of trace evidence from a crime scene. First one is handpicking. Trace evidence might include gunshot residue, that is commonly known as GSR, paint residue, chemicals, glass, illicit drugs, and so on. Such trace evidences are collected by handpicking method. The investigator must have a biohazard kit on hand containing disposable latex gloves, booties, face mask and gown, and a biohazard waste bag. Second method is tape lifting, which is a very effective method for lifting fibers, hairs, fingerprint, etc. with the help of adhesive tape and placed over the clean piece of plastic or a white paper. Swabbing. Dry swabs are used to collect minute particles, whereas moistened swabs are used to collect body fluids. The body fluids include blood, semen, saliva, and vomit. In order to identify and collect such evidences, a crime scene investigator might use smear slides, a scalpel, tweezers, scissors, sterile float squares, a UV light, protective eye gear, as well as a chemical reagent, that is luminol. Next one is sweeping. This method is widely used to collect particles, or preferably a clean paintbrush is used. Last method is vacuuming. Specialized nozzles, which are made up of stainless steel, must be used to collect microscopic evidences from garments, motor vehicles, etc. Critical areas of the crime scene should be vacuumed and stripping submitted to the laboratory for analysis. There is something addition in this, that fingernail scraping from individuals who were in contact with other individuals may contain minute fragment of evidence that is capable of linking the assailant and victim. The undersurface of each nail is best scraped with a dull object such as toothpick in order to avoid cutting of the skin. These scrapings will be submitted to microscopic examination in the laboratory. After following the proper protocol of collection method, we will move on to packaging and dispatching of physical evidences. First, we will talk about blood. It could be found either on absorbent material or on non-absorbent material. On absorbent material, cut the piece along with control sample and place it in a plastic vial. For non-absorbent material, swab with the cotton along with the control sample, air dry the sample and froze it off. Second is saliva. Collect the saliva sample on sterile gauze, air dry the sample and pack it in the paper. Third, semen or seminal stain. The items which bear seminal stain could be collected, air dried and further wrap it in the paper bag. Third one is paint. Collect the paint flakes which could be found on items like vehicles, tools, in a paper bag or in the envelope. If paint is available in wet condition, collect the whole item that contains the evidence, air dry the sample and pack it in a plastic bag. Next is hair and fiber. In order to package hair and fiber evidences, use tweezer or adhesive tape to collect and pack in folded paper which is inserted inside envelope, plastic bag, etc. Next is glass. Select the glass fragment or large piece of broken glass in paper envelope or in box with wadded cotton or tissue in order to prevent damage or breakage. Next we will talk about ammunition. In ammunition, projectiles, wads, cartridges or even shot, such evidences are wrapped in tissue paper or plastic bag or in cardboard container. Submit the whole clothing or any other material that shows the evidence of gunpowder residue in a clean paper bag. The investigator never submits a loaded gun to the laboratory. He must unload the weapon first and place in cardboard container. There are many other physical evidences which might present at the crime scene that vary depending upon the nature of crime committed. We will discuss more about collection, preservation and packaging of physical evidences in our next module. This is the general reference of collection and preservation of physical evidences. Paper fold technique. This is a very basic technique in order to collect trace evidence. You can also make it side by side. Take a single piece of paper, fold the paper into thirds and place your evidence in the middle section as you can see in the first image. Second, further fold one third over the middle section. Third step, fold the other third over middle section like this. Coming on the fourth step, fold in half in the same direction as the thirds were folded. This is the critical step in making the package leak proof. I hope you are doing side by side. Fifth one, fold the ends up, making one into a point for easier insertion into the other. Last step, insert the pointed end into the outermost opening of the straight end. What are the general guidelines for labeling the exhibit? In order to avoid any kind of breakage, exhibits must be packed properly, padded with cotton. Second point, in order to maintain the identity and individuality of the sample, each article or exhibit should be packed and labeled separately. Third one, seal all the envelopes and packages. The seal should be legible and sealed. Fourth, record all the procedures adopted for locating, recording, lifting, packaging and forwarding in case diaries. Last one, the seal impression should be sent on sealing wax by the law enforcement agencies. Moving forward with the most important aspect of crime scene investigation is maintenance of chain of custody after processing the whole crime scene. The chain of custody is a system of accountability. Officers must be able to account for evidence from the time it is located until it is presented in court, so that the officer can testify that it is not being tampered with or changed any way. The chain of custody is best maintained by limiting control to as few people as necessary and by documenting each link in the chain. There must be systematic record of the names of the persons through whom the exhibits were passed and to whom when they were delivered, date, time and the date of receipt recorded. This is the reference image of chain of custody. Forwarding letter. The investigating officers examine the evidence with proper care and caution and label the evidence without any kind of contamination. The forwarding letter should be sent in a separate sealed cover, either by a special messenger or by a post according to the case. Remember that all evidence should be sent to experts through the concerned court of law. The forwarding letter should be complete, which means it should contain memo number and case information and attested by the forwarding authority. The nature of examination should be clear and without overwriting, cutting or making any kind of corrections. Separate forwarding letters, road certificates and other relevant papers should be prepared for different divisions of physical evidences for submitting cases and receiving reports. Transport certificate. Evidence is usually submitted to the laboratory either by personal delivery or by mail shipment. The method of transmittal is determined by the distance the submitting agency must travel to the laboratory and urgency of the case. Certain formalities must be observed when transporting exhibits to forensic laboratories. First thing that should be carefully examined is same seal should be used throughout on the same lot of articles as well as on the forwarding letter. And the second one, the specimen sealed on the forwarding report should be on sealing wax and not in ink or in anything else. Third one is a copy of the label in writing or made by the carbon process should accompany the report. Fourth one, the forwarding report should be sent separately in a sealed over and a copy thereof should be placed inside a parcel. And the last one is receipt granted by the laboratory for the exhibit should be preserved. If the parcel is sent by post, it should be registered with acknowledgement due. Time to quiz. Hope you listen our e-lecture thoroughly and very carefully. Please refer to the e-notes provided to you for Module 1 of Crime Scene Investigation and Management. By successfully completing the quiz 1 of Module 1, you will unlock the next module. Thank you.